Welcome to another episode of Our Time Crypto. Real trade, no hype. This is where we cut through the noise and give you the facts that matter. No drama, no overblown promises, just clarity and insight. Today, we're looking at a big question. Is Ethereum still number one as both a layer 1 and the foundation for layer 2 scaling? Or are we witnessing the beginning of its decline? With Circle, Stripe, and other giants building their own chains, and flashy competitors promising speed and low fees, some are already writing Ethereum's obituary. But is that narrative real, or just another headline grab? Let's break it down. Ethereum is dead? Really? That's what some people want you to believe. But before you rush to judgment, let's slow down. If Ethereum were truly finished, why is it still the backbone of DeFi? Why is it still home to the majority of stablecoins? Why does Wall Street keep coming back to Ethereum for tokenized assets? The truth is, while competitors are popping up everywhere, Ethereum hasn't just survived. It has reinforced its position as the number one layer 1 blockchain and the foundation for an expanding, powerful layer 2 ecosystem. Let's start at the core. When people talk about blockchains, it's easy to get distracted by shiny features. Solana is blazing fast. Avalanche boasts huge throughput. Cosmos offers modularity. And now enterprise-grade chains are entering the field, promising millisecond transactions. But Ethereum isn't just another blockchain. Ethereum is the settlement layer of crypto. It's the backbone, the rails, the infrastructure that powers thousands of applications and billions in value. Bitcoin might be digital gold, but Ethereum? Ethereum is digital finance. Think about stablecoins: USDC, USDT, DAI. Nearly all of them either launched on Ethereum or still rely on Ethereum for settlement. Stablecoins are the lifeblood of DeFi, of crypto exchanges, of cross-border payments, which means that every time a stablecoin moves, Ethereum's gravitational pull is there. That's not just market share, it's market gravity. You can launch your flashy chain, you can lure in a handful of projects, but sooner or later, you orbit back to Ethereum. Because that's where the liquidity is, that's where the users are, that's where the trust is. And here's another piece of the puzzle: security. Ethereum's layer 1 has been battle-tested for nearly a decade. Billions of dollars secured. Countless attacks survived. No catastrophic failures. Compare that with newer chains. How many outages has Solana suffered? Enough that the phrase network downtime has become a running joke. Now, imagine billions locked in DeFi apps when a chain just goes offline. For global finance, that's not an inconvenience. That's unacceptable. Ethereum may not be the fastest, but it's the most resilient. And resiliency beats hype every single time. Now let's talk about the merge. That wasn't just some PR stunt. Ethereum pulled off one of the most complex upgrades in blockchain history, switching from proof of work to proof of stake. The result? Energy use down by more than 99%. Critics silenced. And most importantly, Ethereum became one of the most sustainable chains in existence. Institutions care about sustainability. Regulators care about sustainability. And Ethereum delivered, right on cue. But here's the critical insight. Ethereum doesn't even need to be the fastest layer 1. That's not its purpose. Ethereum is the settlement layer. Think of it like the Federal Reserve's wire system. You don't use FedWire to buy a $3 coffee. It's too slow, too expensive. But FedWire is the backbone of US finance. It's where trillions settle with finality. Ethereum is the same. You won't use layer 1 to buy your latte, but you will trust it to secure billions. And this is where the conversation shifts to layer 2. While other chains are trying to compete head-on, Ethereum did something smarter. It turned potential competitors into collaborators. Optimism, Arbitrum, zk-sync, Starknet. Instead of fighting against Ethereum, they build on Ethereum. They use Ethereum as the settlement layer while handling the high-speed transactions on their own rails. The brilliance here is in rollups. Imagine you've got thousands of transactions happening off-chain. A rollup compresses all of them into one proof and posts that proof back to Ethereum. Users get lightning-fast, low-cost transactions. But the ultimate source of truth, the settlement, remains Ethereum. That's scalability without compromise. And let's zoom in on zk-rollups. This is where cryptography feels like science fiction. With zero-knowledge proofs, Ethereum doesn't even need to verify every transaction individually. It only needs to verify the proof that says all those transactions were valid. Near instant finality. Ultra-low fees. And still, Ethereum secures the base layer. This is how Ethereum scales to billions of users without becoming bloated or fragile. And here's the kicker. Every time a layer 2 succeeds, Ethereum wins. That's the flywheel. Optimism grows, more settlement flows back to Ethereum. Arbitrum expands, more ETH fees are burned, zk-sync adoption climbs, Ethereum's dominance grows. You can't say that about Solana or Avalanche. Their growth is siloed. But Ethereum's growth is symbiotic. Layer 2 adoption expands Ethereum's reach rather than replacing it. Now let's talk about the so-called threats, Circle and Stripe. Big players, each building their own chains. Circle launched Arc. Stripe announced Tempo, both promising enterprise-grade speed and finality. At first glance, that sounds like bad news for Ethereum. But let's ask the hard question. Do these companies really want to build full ecosystems from scratch? Do they want to replicate DeFi, NFTs, DAOs, tokenized assets, and global liquidity on a brand new chain? What they want is sovereignty, control, their own playground. But sovereignty doesn't equal adoption. Remember the enterprise blockchains of 2017? Almost all of them are dead. And here's what most people miss. Circle's Arc chain, it's still Ethereum compatible. It's EVM based, which means Ethereum remains at the center of the picture. Even when they try to escape, they end up reinforcing Ethereum's orbit. Because if you want liquidity, if you want interoperability, if you want real adoption, you have to connect back to Ethereum. So instead of these new blockchains undermining Ethereum, they may actually prove its strength. Ethereum is the hub. You can spin up as many spokes as you want. But when you need liquidity, finality, trust, you always come back to the hub. Now let's compare Ethereum to the so-called Ethereum killers. Solana is fast, but plagued by outages. Avalanche is clever, but its developer base is a fraction of Ethereum's. Cosmos is modular, but liquidity is fragmented across dozens of chains. Each competitor has strengths, yes, but none of them come close to Ethereum's network effects. And network effects are everything. Developers build where the users are. Users flock where the apps are. Liquidity concentrates where both meet. And Ethereum sits at the center of that cycle. That's why Wall Street isn't testing tokenized assets on Solana. They're doing it on Ethereum. BlackRock, JP Morgan, Fidelity, they're not building on side chains. They're piloting real financial products on Ethereum's rails. And Ethereum isn't standing still. Its roadmap stretches for years. Danksharding and proto-danksharding will dramatically reduce costs for layer 2s. Data availability sampling will make Ethereum even more efficient. The vision is roll-up-centric. Instead of cramming everything onto the base chain, Ethereum empowers an ecosystem of layer 2s that scale horizontally. That's how you reach billions of users worldwide. And let's not forget neutrality. Ethereum isn't a company. It's not controlled by a board of directors. It's decentralized. And that neutrality matters. It makes Ethereum the blockchain of choice, not just for enterprises, but for activists, NGOs, developers in emerging economies, and anyone who needs infrastructure they can trust. You can't bribe Ethereum. You can't shut it down. That neutrality is priceless. So let's circle back to the big question. Is Ethereum finished? Not even close. Ethereum is more essential now than it's ever been. As a layer 1, it's the most secure, most resilient, most trusted settlement layer. As the foundation for layer 2s, it's scaling to serve billions without losing its principles. Even when giants like Circle and Stripe try to launch their own chains, they're forced to stay Ethereum compatible. That's the definition of dominance. Ethereum isn't just surviving. It's evolving. It's becoming the operating system for the entire blockchain economy. And if you zoom out, Ethereum's dominance isn't shrinking. It's expanding. So here's the question I'll leave you with. 5 years from now, will Ethereum still be number 1, or will one of these challengers finally take the crown? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this debate is just beginning, and the story of Ethereum is far from over. This is Our Time Crypto. Real trade, no hype. If you found this breakdown useful, make sure to like, subscribe. Before we wrap up, here are today's big crypto headlines to leave you informed.
I think Ethereum has a Wall Street put, because as the Goldmans and the JP Morgans want to be big in the stablecoin market, they're also going to want to make sure that the underlying layer 1 is super secure. So as a public chain, they're going to want to own a large stake in Ethereum. So the Ethereum treasury strategies have what I call a Wall Street put, because they're basically moving in front of what Wall Street probably ends up doing.
I'm pretty bullish about ETH. I think ETH will get back to a new all-time high. Solana has been the cool kid because it's been the center of meme coins and the technology is very exciting. But if you look at the things people are bullish on, they're based on ETH. ETH is the contrarian bet in crypto right now. ETH is the largest platform for stablecoins. It's got the highest share of tokenization, like an 80% market share. And most of the agentic AI stuff is on ETH in all-time high. I think ETH is the contrarian bet in crypto right now. And here's my argument for ETH. What are the things people are most excited about outside of Bitcoin in a serious way right now? They're probably most excited about stablecoins. They're most excited about tokenization, and they're most excited about agentic AI, right? We just talked about those things. Where are those 3 things happening? It's all happening on ETH, right? ETH is the largest platform for stablecoins. It's got the highest share of tokenization, like an 80% market share, and most of the agentic AI stuff is on ETH.
As for Ethereum, ARK's 2022 forecast predicted that by 2032, Ethereum's market cap could exceed $20 trillion, which would push the value of one Ethereum to over $166,000. This prediction doesn't account for Ethereum's deflationary nature, so if that factor is included, the price could end up being even higher. With all of that said, Cathie Wood is confident that crypto is here to stay,